One of the greatest amenities of modern day technology is the ability to buy, store, and replay various forms of media. Whether it's blasting your favorite album from 2010 or trying out your very first retro game, preservation of media not only provides us with the history of the past, but the ability to reassess that product today or in the future. Released in January of 2010 for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, comes Bayonetta from the developers Platinum Games. Platinum Games, by the way, is no stranger to some banger games such as Astral Chain and Nier Automata. However, they also have had questionable releases such as Vanquish and the forgotten Babylon Fall, which no one asked for, by the way. Square Enix, looking at you. While it is clear that the Bayonetta series as of today has been widely successful, some of us, aka me of 10 years ago, found the original game to be anything but. I remember loading up the game at the time on my PlayStation 3 and wondering, what in the hell is this? For one, look at her. She is gorgeous and does certain poses that makes my monkey brain go woo! But surely developers would not use that as a lure to get us Devil May Cry fanboys on the hook, right? Well, in a way they did. Now I can certainly admit that was one of the reasons I disliked Bayonetta before loading the game up. The old me saw it as Devil May Cry, but looter. If my memory serves me correctly, I quit my first playthrough around the 3rd or 4th chapter. At that time, I found the gameplay to be awful, and the story, well, I had no idea what the hell was going on, so it just never stuck. But a decade later, with the release of Bayonetta 3, and shortly thereafter Cereza and the Lost Demon, my mind began to wonder, if the game was that bad, why is it still popping up in the modern day? Well, it could be one of two reasons. Either A, the game is good, or B, since the acquisition of the series by Nintendo, it was the Nintendo fanboys that kept the game alive. Either way, it caught my interest enough to give it another shot, but this time on PC. So, with that being said, I want you to join me as I beat my past self on the head and discover the reasons why I was wrong about the original Bayonetta. And what better way to do this than assessing the gameplay, the story, the voice acting, and its replayability. So, let's get it on. First, let's go ahead and address the spider in the room here. No, not the one from Devil May Cry, nor the one from Bayonetta. The one I'm talking about is the game's director, Hideki Kamiya. Kamiya, in case you were not aware, was the director for the original Devil May Cry and Beautiful Joe series before he departed from Capcom back in 2006, where he left the company to found Platinum Games alongside Shinji Mikami and Atsushi Inaba. The reason I bring this up is because it is clear as a bright blue sky that Bayonetta pulls a lot of inspiration from that of Devil May Cry, but it also establishes its own identity. On the surface level, both of these games are hack and slash. You fight waves of monsters and bosses with flashy movements and abilities. But it is clear that underneath that hood of what some kids would call anime, there's a complex but also satisfying combat system. What I mean by complex is not only in variety of weapons and combos, but also in movement and sensitivity. The gameplay of Bayonetta does what past games in the same genre has done, but better, minus the quick time events. But in its defense, this game is a product of its time. The combo system, for example, isn't just based on timing between button presses. It also features torture attacks that allows the player to deal high amounts of damage to a single foe. Additionally, a player can hold down the projectile button to keep a combo chain going while delaying the next hit. This to me seemed weird at first, but it does come in handy when you need to get some nasty blows in without dropping your current string. But also, let's not forget about Witch Time. This was a mechanic I misunderstood the first time attempting to play through the game, as I thought it was like slow-mo from Beautiful Joe. But damn, was I wrong. Witch Time is a mechanic that activates when dodging at the last possible second of an animation, and it rewards a player with, or shall I say, a temporary slowing of time. This risk versus reward mechanic, while simple, is integral to the gameplay loop as it allows the player to execute combos without the added pressure of juggling enemies. It provides a breather in a hectic moment and a sense of reward for executing a dodge perfectly. In one way, Witch Time does disrupt combat if you are highly skilled, as a battle could be over in a matter of seconds, but it is also just another tool in Bayonetta's belt that helps the game retain its originality. There's just something visceral with the combat in this game that makes it not only punishing but rewarding when executed properly. And I would have found this out if I kept playing the game the first time. Simply put, this game makes you feel like a hero regardless of your skill level, and some of the bosses in this game too will give you a run for your money. Now, hack and slash games are not normally known for their story in most cases, and this one is not much different. Though the story is lacking in depth, its characters on the other hand are full of life, and that's all a game like this needs.
What the fuck? They're here? For this douchebag?
If I wanted a real story, I would load up Xenoblade Chronicles. I want action, dramatic scenes, banging music, fan service, and most of all, humor. But it's still worth mentioning. The game starts with Bayonetta waking up with no memories and a man named Rodin who happens to give her that iconic name. On her journey, Bayonetta encounters a woman named John and throws down at the playground with her multiple times. There also happens to be a bad guy who is called Balder, I know, lovely name, who needs an item called a left eye for his master plan. So with the power of anime, he pulls a little girl named Cereza from the past into the present. Cereza is Bayonetta's real name, by the way. This causes the past Cereza to promise her future self to be brave and avenge her mother, which activates the left eye, just as Balder intended. Since he already has the right eye due to inheritance, cue the epic boss fight, and then he gets blasted. Bayonetta recovers her memories, her and John is besties once again as she is no longer being controlled by Balder, and roll credits. Like I said, it's nothing grand, but the game does a great job at bringing these characters to life. Just look at this scene.
Give me more credit than that. If you must know where L-U-K-A Luca is concerned, there's no such thing as luck. Only skill.
I appreciate that the game is willing to be goofy at times, as not every scene needs to be serious, and that's all you need in a hack and slash. Now, let's move on to the voice acting, as they are the ones who brought these characters to life.
When you love something, never lose it. Understand, little one? You must keep it safe, close to your heart.
Bayonetta is voiced by Helena Taylor, who also voiced Zoran Blitz in Hellsing Ultimate and every Bayonetta up until the recent one, due to some controversy.
Then this thing should have slept for eternity. Now you must wake up, Cereza. Cereza! Cereza! Damn you, open your eyes!
John is voiced by Grey DeLille, who I believe I just slaughtered her last name, who also voiced many iterations of Daphne from Scooby-Doo and Polly from Invincible. Honestly, the number of roles this woman has had is insane.
Such a wonderful floral bouquet. With its subtle hints of rosemary. You know, in the language of flowers, rosemary equates to remembrance. Which doesn't quite equate to you, now does it? Bayonetta!
Luca is voiced by Yuri Lowenthal, who also voiced, Spider-Man, Sasuke, Marth, and any edgy boy under the sun.
It's a balance, right? Even if some of them like messing around with the humans, we've all got a stake in the status quo. But people keep fucking around like this, the Book of Revelations is gonna look like Mother Goose.
And last but not least is Rodin, who is voiced by Dave Fennoy, who also voiced Gandon Goza from Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, and even Hulk Davidson and Fire Leo from Beautiful Joe. Talk about a mashup with him and Camilla. Sliding over to its replayability, Bayonetta offers a large amount of it under its hood. Firstly, scattered throughout stages are broken hearts and moon pearls that when combined increases Bayonetta's HP and magic gauge by 1 orb. The magic gauge, by the way, allows the player to pull off torture attacks and certain moves that require magic to execute. If collecting these aren't enough, well, the shop in this game is full of all kinds of goodies ranging from items, abilities, accessories, and costumes. There also happens to be the Umbran Tears of Blood, 101 in total, and my favorite, the Alfheim levels, which are dispersed in some of the most wackiest places in each level. The Alfheim stages offers rewards just like I previously stated, but only when beaten under certain conditions. Some of them lock damaging enemies behind witch time, while others limit your moveset or force you to use torture attacks to complete the level. What I appreciated about these was their diversity, even though at times it felt absurd, as once you complete a level after 20 minutes of struggling, it just hits differently. Once all the Alfheim missions have been completed, you also unlock the last chapter titled Angel Slayer. This chapter is purely combat that increases in difficulty the deeper you get into it. It is brutal enough to unlock, let alone go through it. Angel Slayer, by the way, has no checkpoints, so it's either get good or sell your game, bro. Also, there is one more thing I found interesting. The game tracks the time it takes you to go through each stage, and if it's cleared under 3 hours, you can unlock an accessory called Bracelet of Time, which turns your witch time into a trigger, like that of a devil. So this game screams at the player to replay me, if you enjoyed it enough to get through it the first time. Speaking of that, the game took me just around 4 hours total to beat on my first playthrough, if you go by the in-game time. When it came to exploring stages to gather coins, collectibles, and the Alfheim levels, well, my end time was 22 hours, according to Steam. Needless to say, this is one of those games that can offer a player as much or as little as they want regarding its replayability, and it's one I see myself replaying in the future. I'm sure you have noticed by now just how much praise I've given this game. Do not get me wrong here, it is not perfect by any means, especially if you play it on PC. Maybe it was just me, but I had to redo a few chapters here and there due to the game not loading assets properly to trigger the next cutscene. But even with its flaws on PC, it is a product that carries its weight. With a bit of self-reflection, I realized the reason why I never gave this game the good old college try at the time. It is a dumb reason, but it goes to show how wrong I was. At that time, I am 100% sure my old self saw Bayonetta as a Devil May Cry ripoff with fan service. So naturally going into the game, I wanted to find any reason I could to drop it due to it being a knockoff of Devil May Cry 3. Very childish of me, I know. But over time, I realized that it's okay for similar products to exist, as it can create competition against the companies providing us with them. In turn, that can lead to more creative or tailored experiences for us as consumers. In conclusion, the past version of myself was very wrong about this game due to my own preconceived bias. If there's anything that can be taken away from this, it is the importance of opinion. Whether it is a good friend you have known for a while, or someone you watch online who seems to align with your own way of thinking, opinions can help to shake you out of your own biased thoughts. Remember, opinions are not facts, so you can interpret them as you will. But at that time, none of the boys had played the game, so I had no source I was willing to take the viewpoint of. Nowadays, the world is different than what it was before, and so am I. While opinions can be helpful to steer you into the right or wrong direction, I find the best way to experience something is to do it yourself. Ultimately, it is your thoughts and beliefs about something that matter most in the end.
Suits me now, doesn't it?